Lesson 1. What is data security? The body of knowledge defines data security as the planning, development, and execution of security policies and procedures to provide proper authentication, authorization, access, and auditing of data and information assets within cultural and regulatory considerations. In 2017, the world watched in horror as Equifax, one of the largest credit reporting agencies, announced that the personal information of 147 million people was exposed. This wasn't just any data. It was social security numbers, birth dates, addresses of real everyday people. Imagine being one of those 147 million people. A person, a client, a patient, a student. Stakeholders aren't just faceless data points on a screen. They're real individuals with lives, dreams, and fears. Equifax's breach was a grave reminder that organizations can't be reckless owners of data. They are custodians, entrusted with the task of guarding people's personal information. Everyone, from the CEO to the IT intern, has to recognize and respect this duty. Data security is non-negotiable. To reiterate, the body of knowledge defines data security as the planning, development, and execution of security policies and procedures to provide proper authentication, authorization, access, and auditing of data and information assets within cultural and regulatory considerations. As news of the Equifax breach unfurled, so did questions on regulations. Did Equifax act swiftly enough? Were they transparent? Government regulations, often seen as tedious red tape, have a purpose. They act as protective fences, sometimes keeping data in, ensuring secrecy, and at times making data transparent, allowing accountability. Equifax's missteps highlighted the dire need for stringent adherence to these regulations, not as a mere formality, but as a safeguard against potential chaos. Takeaway: government regulations are not just bureaucratic hoops. They are essential guidelines to ensure data secrecy, transparency, and company accountability. Data is a potent tool. In Equifax's vaults, data wasn't just information, it was a competitive advantage, a unique insight into millions of lives. But the breach underlined a bitter truth. The very asset that gives a company its edge can, if mishandled, cause harm to millions and billions of people. Takeaway: organizations must treat data not just as a business advantage, but as a responsibility, understanding the profound impact of its potential misuse. Despite the critical need for tight security, companies like Equifax must also ensure seamless operations. A credit report has to be accessible to a legitimate bank or a loan agency. But each doorway, each point of legitimate access can potentially be a point of failure. Data security must make sure that every entry point is secure. Takeaway: balancing accessibility with security is vital. Every point of access, no matter how legitimate, should be meticulously safeguarded. Beyond its own promises, Equifax, like many corporations, was bound by external agreements. Contracts with credit card companies, for instance, might dictate specific data protection measures like mandatory encryption. Breaching these isn't just a failure to oneself, but a failure to peers, partners, and the broader business ecosystem. Takeaway: contractual commitments in data security aren't mere paperwork. They're promises to the community that trust must never be compromised. According to the body of knowledge, the goals of data security are as follows: ensuring only the right individuals have access to the data assets of an enterprise, aligning with regulations and policies that mandate privacy, protection, and confidentiality. Think of GDPR in Europe or HIPAA in the US. Certifying that the privacy and confidentiality requirements of every stakeholder are not just met, but regularly checked and audited. The primary business driver of data security is risk reduction and business growth. Data breaches can erode the foundation of trust that businesses build with their stakeholders, be it customers, partners, or investors. This trust, once broken, can take years to mend, if at all. Not many realize, but mishandling data doesn't always mean some hacker got it. Sometimes, it's an employee who might unintentionally expose something sensitive. For example, they might accidentally send an email to the wrong person or leave a document open on a shared computer. It happens. This is why data security is not just an IT responsibility. Data security work encompasses the formulation of policies, practices, data classifications, and access authorizations that envelop the entire organization. If you take a department centric approach to data, you can't significantly reduce the accidental leakage of data, as there aren't any unified policies that govern what should stay private and what shouldn't. Data security is typically the main responsibility of a dedicated information security group, usually within the information technology (IT) area. Larger enterprises often have a Chief Information Security Officer (CISO) who reports to either the CIO or the CEO. So, what's the solution? Businesses start by pinpointing the most crucial pieces of information. This could be anything from customer details to internal financial records. Then they map out where all this data lives, be it in a central computer system or in various departments. The next step is ensuring that each piece of data is protected in the best way possible. This doesn't mean just putting up a generic password, but understanding the nature of the data and protecting it accordingly. And importantly, they keep an eye on how this data plays a role in day-to-day business operations. Knowing who has access to what and why is key. Data security is an asset, and it must be treated as such. When sensitive data is accurately marked or identified as sensitive through its metadata, companies are able to build their data security protocols on sturdy foundations, building trust as with their stakeholders and staying compliant. After understanding what data security entails, let's now deep dive into its foundational principles. 1. Collaboration plus enterprise-wide approach. The entire enterprise needs to be involved and included in data security initiatives, and they must do so collaboratively. If each department had its own set of rules about data, it would be chaotic. That's why it's crucial for data security standards and policies to be consistent across the board, and that is not possible without collaboration. 2. Proactivity. Waiting for a breach to happen and then taking action is like closing the barn door after the horse has bolted. Being proactive in data security means continually updating strategies, keeping an eye out for potential risks, and making sure that everyone, from IT to sales, is on the same page. Potential threats must be anticipated, not just reacted to. Accountability. It's essential to be crystal clear about who is responsible for what. From the moment data enters an organization to the moment it's used or stored, there should be a clear chain of custody. 4. Metadata-driven. Think of metadata as the name tag for data. By tagging sensitive data, organizations can quickly identify what needs special attention. If sensitive data is not accurately marked from the very beginning, things get muddy fast. 5. Reduce risk by reducing exposure. The lesser the sensitive data floating around, the better. Reducing its spread, especially in areas where it's not needed, is equivalent to reducing the chance of it falling into the wrong hands. Would you scatter diamonds in every room of your house, or keep them safely locked in one? Now that you know the basics of data security, let's explore some of its core concepts throughout this module.